Fun fact, Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson's Scream music video is the most expensive music video ever at $12.7 million. God damn. Play the music.
Baby, baby.
Welcome to Open Mic. I'm your host, Jamal Radio Raheem. Now, Open Mic is a music podcast. You can find it anywhere that you get podcasts. You can also watch it on YouTube if you're one of those visual people like myself. Now, today's episode, I'm going to talk about three artists who I listen to their whole discography because I'm tired of talking about Kendrick, the Super Bowl, Diddy. I want to talk about what I really want to talk about. So I listened to three artists' whole discography. Westside Boogie, Saba, and Big Sean. I'm gonna give you my rankings. I'm gonna give you my favorite songs off each of their albums. First up, Westside Boogie. So with Westside Boogie, before I get into his discography, for those who don't know who Westside Boogie is, he's a rapper from Compton, California. He's somebody who's been putting out mixtape and albums for a good 10, 12 years now. For people who don't know who he is, he was at Kendrick's Pop Out show, which was a big spot for him, and people found out who he was through that. But that is who Westside Boogie is. He's a dope MC. Now let me talk about his discography before I give my favorite off of his albums and the tier system, which everybody actually cares about for real, if we're being real. Um, I think he is somebody who has got better with every project. He's somebody who keeps his music very emotional, very personal, and I'm a fan of when artists do that, you know what I'm saying? Like whoever Jamisha is, he always talking about it, he talks about his relationships with his baby mama. He talks about being a dad. He talks about um people talk like Hayden. He talks about a lot, Compton, and when you hear Boogie, you hear the growth, you hear all that in the music. Like from his first project, Thirst 48, to more superheroes, more black superheroes, you saw the progression as an artist. And that's something I'm a huge fan of. Boogie is consistently giving us um duality, you know what I'm saying? Giving us songs that's like fuck these bitches, but then he's also giving us a song that him talking about like he ain't where he need to be, or how he's sad, or how he's thinking about his ex. And we all been there, you know what I'm saying? So I'm a fan of his. I love how his discography, you saw him grow, you know what I'm saying? You saw the growth, and that's something that I look for artists to do. Now, I'm going to get my favorite off each of the projects. Off Thirst 48, my favorite song is Bitter Raps. I love Bitter Raps. I love the Bitter Raps. I think he should make a series of that. You know what I'm saying? Bitter Raps is my favorite song off Thirst 48. Off the Reach is Change. Um, I think that song is dope. I think Boogie's dope, but I think Change. Um, is my favorite song off of that project, which is the last song on the project. So, great way to close out a project. Thirst 48 Part 2, my favorite song is Sunroof. The amount of times I played that song, y'all don't know, man. Y'all don't know. I was down bad when that song first came out. That song's still my favorite from the project. For everything for sale, Skydive is my favorite. And now my favorite from that project changes all the time. Um, because I love that project. There's so many bangers on there. Silent Ride used to be it. Like if you ask me tomorrow, it might be a different song. But at this moment, as we're speaking, Skydive is my favorite song off that project. And my favorite off of More Black Superheroes is I Can't Get Over You, Can't Get Over that song. Shout out to Boogie for that one. With Smino and Teasel Touchdown. Fantastic song. Now, my tier of his albums, so when I do tiers, I do classic, good, solid, meh, and dookie. All right. I rarely give albums dookie. You know what I'm saying? If the album is dookie, you have to have nothing that I can look at as like positive. You know what I'm saying? Production got to be trash. Songs got to be trash. Everything got to be trash. I rarely give out dookie. You know what I'm saying? Mad, it's just like, there's a couple songs, but solid is like I mean, it's just that solid. Like there's some songs I like, some songs I hate, but it's solid, you know. Good is like it's damn near like there's probably like three or four skips. Classic is like at most one skip for me. You know what I'm saying? So that's my tier. That's how I do it. Um, for me, he had the classic album that I give him, because I do give him a classic, is Everything for Sale. To me, that is a classic. You know what I'm saying? That is a classic. And I know we use the word classic too much. I think we use it too much. Um, but I don't know what word we can use to replace classic. But to me, Everything for Sale is a classic. Now, good. Um, The Reach is a good. I have The Reach in that category. I have Thirst 48 Part 2. I have More Black Superheroes. All of those albums, and they're good. I guess there a couple of them are mixtapes. They're good, but there's a couple skips on there. You know what I'm saying? There's a couple that I'm like, I can do without. You know what I'm saying? But they're still good ass projects. Like I recommend that. If I'm gonna recommend a project for you, it's Thirst 48 because that's the project that like put Thirst 48 Part 2. That's the one that really like put him on my radar. Even though I was listening to him before, when I heard that, I said, all right, he gonna be here for a minute. And solid, I got Thirst 48, the first one. It's solid. It's like more so potential. I love that album. I love it. I'm a fan of Boogie's. But this is the tier system. Let me know what you think of my tier of Westside Boogie. We're gonna take a break and we're gonna get to Big Sean. Big Sean, I think that he is one of the most overly hated rappers, and he gets hit with this like corny claim and stuff like that. And I personally think that um people go out their way because like there's like a running joke to make fun of Big Sean. But I think Big Sean is a good MC. I think he's better than a lot of your favorite MCs. I think that a lot of people took his whole swag, like the super duper flow. They took it from Big Sean. You know what I'm saying? I'm hearing people saying like, "Oh, Big Sean took Baby Keem's flow or he took Kendrick's flow." It's like, nah. One, I don't hear the Kendrick flow, but when they say he took Baby Keem's flow, I'm like, that's the Big Sean flow. Like he was out way before Baby Keem, and he was doing that way before Baby Keem. You know what I'm saying? But I think that Big Sean, his discography, the problem that he has is his albums sound like when they came out. You know what I mean? Like Finally Famous sounds like the year it came out. Hall of Fame sounds like the year that it came out. Even DSPs, which I think is his best album, sounds like the year that it came out. You know what I mean? It's dated, I guess, is what I'm saying. And I don't think there's a problem with the album sounding like the year that they came out. It's just when you listen to something in 2024 from 2024's lens with everything that we know and everything that's happening, certain lyrics and certain references they don't age well, you know? Like when people make an R. Kelly reference to like we playing R. Kelly when we go into the bedroom, that doesn't age well because you know who that man is. That being said, I think his discography is solid. I think he has a solid discography. I think a lot of people should go back and listen to it and they will realize that Big Sean got some goddamn hits. Like he got some hits. Like when he does his greatest hits album, and I honestly think he should do it now. I think he should go on tour and tour like the greatest hits because he has some hits. Let me tell you. Um, I think that if people go back and listen to his discography, I think they will appreciate him more. And I think that the problem is people always talk about Cole, Kendrick, and Drake, and that's the tier. And people like Big Sean, Wale, Big Crit, Rhapsody, they get left off because we talk about the same three people. But he got a solid discography. I want more people to go back and listen to it. Like you won't be disappointed. Yes, he got a lot of horny ass bars. um, but it's a solid discography nonetheless. Now, my favorite off of each of his projects, my favorite off of Finally Famous is 100 Keys. Um, that song's dope, you know what I'm saying? My favorite off of Hall of Fame is Guap. See me getting Guap right now. See me getting Guap right now. Hell no, I want that right now. Whoo, Guap is a banger. Ah, that song is a banger. I like it's still bang too. I still bump Guap. Off DSP, Dark Sky Paradise. My favorite song is the outro. Um, whew, that outro bangs. One of my favorite outros. Um, off I decided voices in my head and stick to the plan. Stick to the plan. Um, I decided is my least favorite album of his. I'm not gonna lie though. So yeah. Off Detroit 100. Um, off Detroit 2. Deep Reverence with the late great Nipsey Hussle. I feel like that song should have been bigger. I feel like it should have been bigger. The promotion wasn't great because that's a great ass song. My favorite off of Better Me Than You is Million Pieces. Love that album. Not, I wouldn't say I love it. I think it's a good album. I think it's not getting talked about though, and it needs to be getting talked about more. So my tier of Big Sean's albums for classic, I got DSP. That album is a classic. I don't care what anybody says. It's a classic. Um, in the good tier, I got both of the Detroit 1 and Detroit 2. I think they're good ass projects, you know what I'm saying? Couple skips, couple bars that didn't age well. Nonetheless, I like the feature choices and I like the production on those projects the most. Solid, Finally Famous, Hall of Fame, Better Me Than You. Um, I think they're all solid projects. They definitely have some skips, definitely have some low moments. I think the problem is every time Big Sean talks about like some serious shit on these projects, it's followed up by the most like horniest song that you can hear. And it's like, yo, you were doing so good and giving us growth, and then you went back to like the machine and gave us like some shit that's like for the radio. Meh, I decided um I don't like this album. I feel like I'm a little harsh on this album, but I'm not a fan of I Decided. So, um, to me, that's a meh album. Actually, no, it's a solid album. I would put it in solid. I would put it in solid. It's a solid album. I'm gonna have to remake this tier. Um, well, when you guys see it, it would be the remake version of it. But it is a solid album. I just feel like he's talking about like real issues and the execution of it pissed me off. Like I feel like he didn't execute the idea that he was going for because he's talking about some real issues. Like Voices in My Head and Stick to the Plan. That song is literally talking about some real shit. It's just execution with that album. So my tier again. Classic DSP, good. You got both of the Detroit 1 and 2. Solid, Finally Famous, Hall of Fame. I decided Better Me Than You. But that's the Big Sean tier. Now, this last person's tier that we're gonna get into is Saba. For those who don't know who Saba is a rapper from Westside Chicago. Saba is one of my favorite MCs. And honestly, this is the time when I want to give a shout out to my brother Jakil. My brother Jakil is the person that put me onto not only Saba, he also put me on to Mick Jenkins. And unintentionally, I guess, by doing that, he also put me onto No Name. You know what I'm saying? He put me onto all three of them, all three of them. And those are all three people who are heavy in my rotation. Heavy. Um, Saba is somebody that the biggest thing that stands out for me for his music is relatability. I can relate to some of the stuff that he is saying a little bit too much, even though I'm from California, he's from Chicago. Some of the reality that he is living in, I can relate to it. You know what I'm saying? Um, I think that he has improved with every project. I'm a big fan of his music. Like I think that he needs to be talked about more. Like the next time he comes on tour and if he comes anywhere near the Bay Area, I'm going to see him because two times I bought tickets to go see Saba and something bad has happened both times. Both times. So I don't know, maybe he might be a bad omen for me and me buying tickets to go see him, but I don't care. I'm going to see him the next time that he's in California and in the Bay Area. I'm going to see him. That being said, let's just get into my favorites off of each of his projects. Um, Actually, I want to talk about his projects more. Like I know I didn't talk about the other people's project as much, but I want to highlight the bucket list because Saba's bucket list project literally inspired me to do a podcast called The Bucket List. Now I don't do that podcast anymore because it at the time it became a little bit too overwhelming and the bucket list ended up turning into open mic. But the bucket list project, he had people on there do skits where they like talk about what's on their bucket list. They talk about stuff they want to do. And that inspired me to do a podcast where I did albums that are should be on everybody's bucket list. So what I did with that podcast or with this podcast is I incorporated that podcast where I do have an album series where I talk about albums I think everybody should listen to, the themes for the album, the importance of those albums. But I also expanded a little bit. So he inspired me to do this unintentionally. He inspired me. Um and I just wanted to highlight that because I love that project so much. I love the idea of it. I think the project is great. So big fan of Saba's. I just wanted to get that out of here before I start talking about my favorites from each project. So my favorite from Comfort Zone is Westside Bound, riding around, around. Westside Bound. Um, Me and my brother played the hell out of that song, part one and part two. But my favorite off of Comfort Zone is Westside Bound Part One. My favorite off of Bucket List is World in My Hands, World in My Hands. Bucket List. Yeah, World in My Hands. My favorite off of Care for Me is Heaven All Around Me. My gosh. I heard that album Care for Me recently and it almost brought me to tears. And I've never felt that way about an album. I was going through some things. It's an anniversary or something. And I almost bust into tears with Heaven All Around Me. The storytelling, telling it from John Walt's perspective. My gosh, amazing. And my favorite of A Few Good Things is the title song, Few Good Things, with Black Thought. Now, my tier system from Saba, classic albums, I think he has two. I think The Bucket List is a classic, and I think Care for Me is a classic. I think Care for Me is one of the best albums of the 2010s, not just hip hop albums, albums in general of the 2010s. That's how highly I think of that album. It's a fantastic project. My favorite, oh, not my favorite. For good, we're going A Few Good Things. I like that album. There's a couple songs I could do without, but I still think that album is good. You saw the growth too. Like that's the thing. You saw him growing from like all the hardship that they like experience and stuff like that, and like making money now and like moving to California and all that type of stuff. You saw that with A Few Good Things, you know what I'm saying? And my and Solid, I have Comfort Zone. Comfort Zone and Good Comfortable, even though that's not on Spotify. I have both of them in Solid. But I'm just doing the ones that are on Spotify. Comfort Zone, when I heard that project, I immediately became a fan. I was sitting there. Me and my brother were geeked. And I tell you, we were geeked listening to Saba. Like I was like, yo, who's this kid? Who is this? This kid is hungry. This kid is gonna make it. Like I'm listening to it like, yo, he gonna be there. Like the way that we look at Kendrick is the way I looked at Saba. And I still kind of look at Saba like he gonna get to that level. That's how highly I think of him. One of my favorite rappers ever. He's one of my favorite rappers ever. So again, my tier system for Saba, Bucket List and Care for Me are classics. Good, I got Few Good Things. Solid, I have Comfort Zone. And that has been my tier system. Now, before we get up out of here, I'm going to share all the tier systems. I'm just going to put it on the screen right here. And that is the tier system of all of Westside Boogie, Big Sean, and Saba. Let me know what y'all think of my tier system. I'm sure some people are going to disagree because the internet always disagrees with something. But before we get up out of here, I got to give y'all the song of the week. Michael Christmas, Not the Only One, featuring Toby Lou. Check it out.
Ay, I'm still fucking up all the time. Yeah, I know I'm not the only one. Yeah, I still can't get shit right. I know I'm not the only one. I feel like staying in tonight. I know I'm not the only one. Yeah. Today I didn't go outside. No, I know I'm not the only one.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to Open Mic. I've been your host, Jamal Radio Raheem. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and I will catch y'all next Wednesday with another dope pod to step to. Peace out, y'all.
Baby.